Good morning, everyone. We are learning Mishna Arla, Perek Beis, Chapter 2, Mishnah Beis, Mishnah 2. Dedicate this morning's learning in memory of my mother, Mrs. Shalamis Rabinowitz, Shalamis Basa Rabbi Yaakov Eliezer. Hatruma ma'ala es ha'arla, v'ha'arla es hatruma. Truma has the ability to nullify arla, and arla can nullify truma. What that's going to mean here is that the truma can combine with chulin, with regular food, to nullify the arla, and the arla can combine with the chulin, with regular food, to nullify the truma at the same time. Ketzad, how is this? Sa'ah teruma shenafla lameya. You have a sa'ah of truma that fell into not to 100, but less than 100. As we've said before, learned previously, if truma gets mixed into chulin, into regular food, you need 100 times more of the regular food to nullify the truma. So the Mishnah here says that the case is where the sa'ah is a measure. This measure of truma, sa'ah of truma, fell to 100. It doesn't mean it fell to 100. It fell into almost 100. So for instance, you have a sa'ah of truma that fell into 99 and a half sa'ahs of chulin. Not enough chulin, not enough regular food to nullify the truma. V'achar kach, and after that, naflu shleisha kabin arla or shleisha kabin kilei kerem. After that, 3 kabin. Kabin again is a dry measure. 3 kabin of arla or 3 kabin of kilei kerem fell in. As we learned previously, arla, that's what Mishna is about. Arla is the first 3 years of the fruits are forbidden. Kilei kerem is where you planted in a vineyard a vegetable or a grain, and the vine that's nearby, the grain, the vegetable, they all become forbidden to have benefit from. Now, we have a sa'ah of truma that fell to 100 to less than 100 sa'ah of chulin, and after that, 3 kavin, which is half a sa'ah. There are 6 kavin to a sa'ah. 3 kavin, half a sa'ah of arla, or half a kav of kilei kerem, now fell into that mixture of the 99 and a half chulin and the 1 sa'ah of truma. So altogether, we have here 99 and a half kavin of chulin, 1 sa'ah of truma, and half a sa'ah of arla or kilei kerem. Zui shataruma ma'ala esa arla. This is an example where the truma can nullify the arla, the arla is a truma, and the arla can nullify the truma. So what that means is like this. You've got the 99 and a half of chulin. You had a sa'ah of truma fall in. That was not, I don't have enough chulin to nullify the truma. But after, when the arla falls in, when the half a kav of the arla falls in, so now I really have, what I do is I can combine the truma and the chulin to nullify the arla. If I combine the sa'ah of truma with the 99 and a half sa'ah of chulin, I have 100 and a half sa'ah of not arla. Now, arla, we learned yesterday, needs 200 times, 200 parts of chulin, of other food to go ahead and to nullify it. Nullification of arla is 1 part arla to 200 parts of the other. So although truma is not permitted to non-kohanim, but truma is not arla. Truma is, you have benefit from it. Truma is permissible to a kohen, arla is permissible to anyone. The truma and the chulin can now combine to form 100 and a half sa'ah, which is more than 200 half sa'ah, to nullify the half sa'ah of arla. Because I have 3 kavin of arla that fell in, that's half a sa'ah. I have more than 200 half sa'ahs of non-arla against the arla. That's going to nullify the arla. At the same time, when the arla falls in, I had 99 and a half of chulin. I had 1 sa'ah of truma. It wasn't enough to nullify the truma. But now that I have the arla mixed in, the arla can combine with the 99 and a half of truma, of chulin, to make 100 sa'ah against the truma. Again, arla is not truma. It's a different thing. And therefore, the arla has the ability to combine with the chulin to nullify the truma. The 99 and a half of chulin and the half sa'ah of arla or of kilei kerem combine together to form my 100 times more of the truma to nullify the truma. So that's the case. That's what the Mishnah means when it says I can have a case where I have truma nullifying the arla nullifying the truma. In these cases, both of them can combine with the chulin to nullify the other one. Now, it's important to point out that the Mishnah's wording is, in what explains the case, it says sa'at truma shenaf olameya, the sa'at truma that fell into almost 100. Va'achar kach, and after that, naflu shloisha kaben arla, or shloisha kaben kilei akarem. After that, you had 3 kaben of arla, or 3 kaben of kilei akarem, and half a saw of either one that fell in. So the case is, first the truma falls in with the chulin, and then the arla falls into that mixture. That's where we say that the truma combines with the chulin to nullify the arla, and the arla can combine with the truma to nullify. The arla can combine with the chulin to nullify the truma. But let's say the chulin and the arla both fell in at the same time together. There, the halacha is what we had in yesterday's Mishnah. We had in yesterday's Mishnah, at least according to the Tanna Kama, that truma and arla can combine together to create a larger amount to necessitate more of an amount of the chulin to nullify it. Meaning, in yesterday's Mishnah, we had 100 chulin, but then we had a sa'ah of truma and a sa'ah of arla that together fell in. When they fall in together, they combine to be considered a larger amount of forbidden food mixed in with the chulin. And I can't just say, well, I have 100 against the arla, I have 100 against the truma, I can nullify them separately. No, I can't. If they fall in together, they form one larger amount, and I need more of the chulin to be able to nullify it. So in our case, the Mishnah stresses that the truma first fell in with the chulin. It fell in, it established the, so to speak, non-arla mixture. And then the arla fell in. Okay, and it now combines with the chulin to make the non-truma mixture. But since they don't fall in together, that's where they don't combine with each other, rather combine with the chulin, with the majority of the chulin, to be able to nullify the other one. We continue with the laws of Rechilas in the Chavetz Chaim, Klal Beis, chapter 2. We're beginning chapter 3 today, Klal Gimel, chapter 3, Sif Aleph, paragraph 1. Asur l'saper Rechilas avshu emes gomer. It is forbidden to speak Rechilas, to tell someone what someone else did or said about them, even though it's completely true. She'ein by shum t'riv sheker. There is not a trace, there's no mixture of falsehood involved. So you still can't say it. Even if you tell Ruvain about what Shimon did or said about him, even if it's not in front of Shimon. And even if you know that you had said this in front of him, it's still forbidden. A rechilas mikrin, it's called mechilas. It's called rechilas. So at the end of the day, rechilas is going to be forbidden even if you don't say it in front of the person who you are saying did something wrong to somebody else. And, even if you, and at the same time, coming from another angle, even if you would go ahead and say it to him in front of him, you'd say it in front of his face, you did this to him, which sometimes it means that sometimes you would think that therefore that lends more credibility to it, and therefore perhaps I could say it. The answer is no, I can't, because I still can't say rechilas if it's true. All the more so if you actually had the goal to actually say the rechilas in front of the person. You tell Reuben in front of Shimon, this is what Shimon did or said about you. You basically say, you said this about him, you did this to him. That it's, of course, forbidden. And actually, the severity of his sin is great. It increases. Number one, the problem with rechilas is that when you tell someone what someone else did to them, that creates animosity from that person towards the person who said I did something to him. Well, now you're going to create the animosity and even a stronger level in the heart and the mind of the person who was spoken or harmed. Now he'll unquestionably accept it as the truth. He'll for sure is going to say, not for the fact it's the absolute truth. He would never have the audacity to say it in front of his face. So this now lends credibility in the eyes of people to what you're saying. That's going to create a stronger degree of hatred in the person's heart against that person. More, there's a potential to bring himself and to these two people, the person who you are saying spoke against the person, or did something against the person, and the person who was the recipient of that. Lavar al yedei rechilas kazu, to transgress through this kind of rechilas, al kamalavin ve'esanim farashim b'Torah, on many prohibitions and positive commandments that are explicit in the Torah. As I explained well in the introduction, when going through the list of potential prohibitions person can transgress when speaking Lashon or rechilas, and therefore the speaking of rechilas in front of the person, telling a person, you said this about him, that is a more severe form of rechilas. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos.